On New Year's Eve, President-elect Trump claimed that he knew things others don't about whether Russia was involved in election-related hacking. But during a television interview on Monday, one of Mr. Trump's security advisors said Trump could have just been playing us. Late on Thursday, that advisor, former CIA Director James Woolsey, abruptly announced in a statement that he was leaving the Trump team. Here's my conversation with him earlier about Thursday's intel hearing. Thanks for being with us. First, sure. I want to play some of what the current Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, said on the Hill.
Who actually is the benefactor of someone who is about to become Commander-in-Chief trashing the intelligence community?
I think there is an important distinction here between healthy skepticism, which policymakers, to include policymaker number one, should always have for intelligence, but I think there's a difference between skepticism and disparagement.
Do you agree, sir, with Director Clapper?
I agree with a fair chunk of what Jim said. I think trashing is a inaccurately colorful characterization of what Donald Trump has said, but he has been critical. There's no doubt about that. The circumstances are sort of interesting. First of all, the Russians do this all the time. They don't do it with cyber until relatively recently, but photoshopping pictures, setting up fake newspaper stories, all of this they've been doing since the 1930s or at least 1940s. They call it disinformation. So there's nothing new about them doing this, especially with respect to European countries, but now in recent years they've spread it further around the world. So there is that. The second thing is that if this was an attempt to hijack the election by Russian hackers or friends of Russian hackers or something, they were using old and not very effective software, which seems sort of strange. That was emphasized in a very fine op-ed in the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago. So I think this is a far more complicated situation than simply characterizing it as trashing suggests.
But do you think that the president-elect's comments have disparaged members of the intelligence community?
Well, I don't think they've disparaged members, but you could characterize one or two of the comments as disparagement, I suppose. But there are reasons why sometimes one needs to be critical of the intelligence community. I think that the reorganizations that they've undertaken over the course of the last couple of 3 years have done a great deal of damage to their coherence and their ability to do their jobs. And I don't think it is improper to characterize that as bad mistakes and some things that need very substantial change.
I want to get to the structuring in just a moment, but going back to the substance here of the consensus opinion that the Russians were behind this, do you think that it's appropriate for a president-elect to be commenting on an ongoing investigation before he or she's been fully briefed on it?
Well, he's still a private citizen. He can talk about what he wants to talk about. I think that the situation with whatever it is the Russians have done is still complicated and somewhat ambiguous. They've done something. They had some software in there that was picked up. One thing that people were particularly attentive to is the Cyrillic alphabet in some of the messages, apparently. And it's important to stay on top of it, to understand it, to get together with all your experts and do a good job of getting into it. But it doesn't mean you have to stand mute while you're doing it.
Is it possible to relay that kind of skepticism in private? And what message do you think it sends to people who may see themselves as enemies of America to see a very public questioning of the credibility of the U.S. intelligence community?
I don't think that Donald Trump suggested that the intelligence community was enemy or enemies of America.
No, the people who may be enemies of America hearing the criticism, other countries, bad actors who may hear a skepticism on the part of the incoming commander-in-chief about the intelligence that commander-in-chief is receiving, and think that perhaps there is something to exploit there. There is a gap with which someone, whether it be a lone actor, whether it be a country, can exploit, given that there may be a rift that is being publicly exposed by comments like this.
I think this is really rather blown out of proportion. Skepticism, my goodness, I mean, these are grown-ups. They're going to take a lot more serious criticism than what they've seen so far in the course of the next several years. People come after the intelligence community for all sorts of things all the time. So I think what's important is that the community has a new boss as of 2 weeks essentially from today, and they need to find a way to work with him, and he needs to find a way to work with them, and that's what ought to drive the agenda, not name calling about what's taken place in the past.
Let's turn to the structuring issue that you raised earlier. On Wednesday, there had been reports, as you know, that Mr. Trump may not have a DNI, Director of National Intelligence, but then on Thursday, he chose former Indiana Senator Dan Coats to head the office of the DNI. What is your take on that?
I don't know former Senator Coats well. I've met him once or twice. He has a good reputation as an able individual, and I wish him luck.
All right. Former CIA Director James Woolsey, thank you so much for your time.
Sure, good to be with you.